Hey, hockey fans, welcome to another edition of Chef's Kitchen. Today and always, we are joined by former NHLPA player agent Dave Frost. Dave is in Chef's Kitchen, and we're about to begin. Dave, how are you today?
Good, you?
I'm doing great. I am on the 405 battling, well, it's actually the California State parking lot is the 405, right? So might be a little bit of interference, and we'll just roll with it. Okay, so Dave, first and foremost, what can you tell me that impressed you the most about Sheldon Keefe and the Maple Leafs last night?
I guess not a hell of a lot.
What did you think? Go ahead. Go ahead.
Matthews was good. I felt like there's some promise at times from Kleinberg on the power play on the point.
Yep.
I thought Nylander was decent. I liked Reeves. I liked the whole fourth line. I thought they provided a spark. I can tell that the third line has got promise, but the kid struggled last night. He seemed really tentative to me. And I thought Marner was garbage, like terrible with the puck, and he guesses on the power play and does no look passes. He frustrates the shit out of me, that kid. I just good penalty killer. He with the puck. I mean, he obviously has a good eye. He can make plays. I mean, he's
Right.
pretty close to a 100-point guy every year, but he just bothers me under pressure. I feel like he's not a playoff guy, not somebody that you can rely on in playoffs under the gun. Whereas I thought Matthews actually did what he gets paid to do. He scored goals last night, right?
Yep. So what I saw was exactly that. Marner standing around his feet, not moving while he's passing, looking for an option after he's already painted himself into a corner. I thought Nice, Nyes, I'm going to get that wrong all year. I thought he looked okay. In the overtime, he stopped skating and drew a penalty. That's going to happen.
He should have scored on his break on his chance in front in OT.
Yep, I agree. So and Matthews as well, and I enjoyed the tenacity of Bertuzzi and Domi. They didn't look tentative. They looked actually more, and rusty is the wrong word. They just looked like they're trying to gel with their new teammates. And I think Nylander fell into that as well. But I would like to see Nyes on the third line. But I'd like to see maybe Reeves bump up for a couple of shifts just to give him some room. They all looked a little tentative, and I don't have a top problem with John Croak. I don't have a problem with him at all, but maybe a little bit of a jumble there would have been, a plus every so often. I thought Brody looked okay. A couple of goals that went in off of him weren't his fault. I mean, he blew a tire on the first goal, and I thought the goaltending was average. But
yeah, the goaltending worried me. Some of the goals weren't his fault, puck bouncing around, but some were. I don't know. It's early, so I wasn't big on any of their D other than the power play. Kleinberg. I thought the D got running around. I like Nyes. I think Nyes will be in the top 6 by playoffs.
Right.
I don't think the kid is going to last the year. I mean, unless he really pulls out of it. I didn't like Domi. I thought Domi played on the outside But I agree with you on Bertuzzi. I thought Bertuzzi sticks his nose in. He's going to be okay. I think he'll be fine.
Yeah.
And I think Domi eventually will be fine too.
What did you also think of the challenges? A couple of goals brought back by Montreal. What do you think of the video replay? We never really talked about it too much, but what do you think of that? Do you think it's just it's
Well,
too tight for the league?
No, I think because generally referees can't see everything. I think like on offsides or the puck's not over the line, you need it now because you want to get it right. Guy Boucher looked like he was the one that came over to Sheldon and said, hey, let's pull the goalie when they were down 2, which was a brilliant move, and they scored.
Yep.
So that was a plus. I thought the power play is going to be good because they got good puck handlers, but I just hope Boucher brings in, like, let's not invent and let's not try and make plays over,
Right.
4 sets of sticks. Make the smart, straight play, work the puck to the top, get shots. Toronto's never been a threat enough from the top. They gotta become a threat.
Right. I think Klingberg will help with that. My other question.
Yeah, I thought he was good. He was good last night.
Yeah. What did you think of Giordano? And I'd rather hear your comment before I make mine. But what did you think of Mark Giordano last night?
I honestly thought outside of Kleinberg, only on the power play, and Morgan, 5-on-5, I thought their D struggled.
Yeah,
I don't like them in their own zone. They don't have enough killer instinct. Maybe they're old. I don't know, but it's early.
Right. I enjoyed Giordano last year working with the kids, Sandine and Liljegren. I thought he was great with them. The call-ups that they brought up, the Hollowells, and there was another one as well. I thought that, it's your 5th and 6th D. Last night really was the first time I looked at Mark Giordano and had to be reminded that he was 40. And, like, it's not equal comparison, but Tom Brady's last year, he didn't look like Tom Brady. Now, I'm not saying Giordano was a, world-class D, but he's a world-class teammate. But he just, he looked like he lost a good step. And it happens to all of them. They all lose a step eventually, and then that's it. But, he might rebound. I cannot see him playing more than 40 to 45 games this year. And I don't want to bag on the guy. The guy's a Hall of Famer or whatever. But, he just looked, he didn't look good. And, it's one game, like you said.
He'd be better off slotted 5, 6, 7. And the problem with this club, again, is going to be 100%. They're going to be grittier. They play harder. They play with some sandpaper. I mean, Reeves drew that penalty. Couple of big hits. I really liked him. I thought their 4th line was good. But once again, Marner, under pressure with the amount of ice time he gets, he just really concerns me. Bertuzzi, Domi, Nyes, these guys are going to be really, really solid additions for a full year.
Right.
But they got to get bigger and meaner on the back end. They absolutely got to.
When it was 5-3, I actually sat there and said, okay, what do they have coming down the pipeline, or what do they have in terms of tradable assets at the deadline to get another D, and it just looked awful. They looked pathetic in the third period. They didn't have the jump, and all of a sudden Matthews throws him on his back, and the next thing you know, it's tied. And he was the only one that I really don't remember Tavares either. And I get it. Everyone has an off night, but my goodness, I just did not like what I saw out of part of the D, and definitely I agree with you with Marner. It's frustrating.
Well, they won't
And
trade him. They won't trade him.
no,
He's a
no,
local, and they'll just bite the bullet, and they'll keep just throwing him on the ice. In the end,
Yep.
the one thing tradable is they do got some good youth now in and out of the lineup. That they probably, if they want to go for it, if the team's in a position where they're leading the conference 1 or 2, and you say to yourself, or Tree Living says to himself, well, shit, we got a chance. I would literally trade whatever you have to bring in legitimate D that can play in the playoffs without question. That is going to be their problem.
Yep, I agree. I totally agree. Okay, so let's talk about another. This is a former Maple Leaf problem, and now is an Edmonton Oiler problem. What did you think of Jack Campbell's effort that first period in Vancouver last night?
Well, the whole team stunk. I mean, after McDavid started his shit by hammering someone, I thought, oh shit. They went right in the toilet. Both goalies, what was it? 4 goals on 16 shots.
Yep.
So they both sucked. If that is going to be, I mean, you can't have starts like that for a team that's supposed to win the conference. A shitload of people are picking them to win the cup.
Yep. Yes, they are.
So they're not even close unless they get their goaltending sorted fast.
Right. It's not going to be pretty. It's going to be a disaster, I think, with Jack Campbell in that. And I hate to bag on the guy, but you know what? At some point, the truth is the truth. I was not the Maple Leaf fan that was all just enamored with Jack Campbell, and we got to resign Jack, and he's going to be the one. He's never been the one. He was only a number 1 goalie on the Leafs almost by default 2 years ago. And here's the best part. I can't even remember who faltered, because it was the Freddie Anderson getting hurt, and then Jack, and then who the heck knows what happened that other year. And who cares? Because it's not Jack Campbell. It's just, I cannot get over how a team like Edmonton can do that. Anyway, they got lucky with Skinner last year. Lightning in a bottle. We all know that. We all know that rookie goaltenders take a step back the second year. Most players actually take that step back the second year, and I think they're in trouble. I honestly and truly think that they are in trouble. And this is going to bleed into my third point, which is a little bit with the Rasmus Sandin contract in Buffalo. Number one, do you think that was an overpay?
I think Buffalo has to overpay to keep people playing there. Honestly,
Yeah,
I do. It's a good market. I mean, I watched their opening at the start. They got scored on early, but I watched their opening, and it's got the potential to have a great, great franchise again. And I think their GM's doing a solid job, but they gotta get players to want to play there.
right.
It's funny because I looked at Edmonton's additions, and I'm like, shit, they added some grit. And
Yeah,
I never thought Campbell was gonna. I thought he'd be maybe a 60-40 split. I'm not giving up on them because they got too much power, and they've added some really good sandpaper. But they better hope Skinner comes alive, man.
Yeah, it's I think it's going to be tough.
And
I
they're not getting a Hullabuck now.
No, no, they're not. That was my next point. Is all these teams that have questions in net. What do you think of the Jets? All of a sudden, really doing a 180 and going from hey, we might do a tear down and rebuild to hey, we're going to keep our stars. What do you think happened there? Because Hellebuck took less than he asked for from New Jersey.
I think what happened was they both looked around, their agents looked around, seen the numbers, seen the possibilities, and then got together with the organization. Cheveldayoff met with them. And when they met early in camp, I'm sure he said to them, the old story, grass is always greener on the other side. You got a good situation here. It's cold as shit, but
Yep.
The roster's still pretty good. Few players away from being like they used to be, and got them to re-up at the same. I thought it was a genius move by them.
Yeah, it's when I saw the 8.5, it really startled me. And it's easy to compare apples and oranges, and the market and the snow and everything else. But it's too bad the Leafs, and I hate to say this, but it's too bad the Leafs didn't have the same feeling of that market. And it really started with JT. If you really want to help out your hometown team and come home, why hammer them for so much? But at the same time, as an agent, you get as much money as you can for your players. But, he would have bitched out the same way that Erik Karlsson did out of San Jose. And who knows where he would have gone. And
Toronto's got to pray that the cap goes way up over the next 2-3 years so they can get themselves out from under the Marner deal, the JT deal, sign Nylander, sign another forward that plays with some competitiveness, and then maybe, shape the D the way it needs to shape. And I think you're going to look at Toronto looking for another goalie. The jury's out for me on Wall. We'll see what Wall does. It's critical for Toronto what he does.
Right. I like Wall, and I think he's got some potential. I know the Russian goalie they have that's starting down with the Marlies is the next great thing and the second coming. But that's a couple of years away, and I know it's difficult to rebuild a team, and it's difficult to also rebuild on the fly, but it's just too bad that they cannot pick up the players that they need because of those heavy contracts. So I hear you.
It would take some trades, and you'd have to have some pretty big balls to trade the guys. I think if you really want to bring in a stud D, you got to trade Marner.
Yeah,
you can replace Marner in the playoffs. You'll lose a whole shitload of points against shitty teams during the regular season. Guess what? Matthews will be fine.
Yep. Other players will pick up that slack. My biggest thing is Marner would be fine if he was 8.5. He really would, because he's not killing you with that extra $3 million or whatever it is.
I agree with you to an extent. The money,
right?
The less money would make it easier, but when the playoffs start and the physicality goes up, and he just disappearing, that's where it kills you.
Yep. Yep.
And you gotta play him.
Oh yeah. There's no way. You can't third line them. You can't slide them down your roster. You can't. uh, You can't hold them. You can't hold them off the power play. You can't keep him from penalty killing. He's really. Uh, that's why I said 8.5. He's really not. You'd rather see somebody with balls, Bertuzzi, playing like he did last night. I'd rather see that. I'd rather see him going down swinging. Um, just the whole thing with Marner, just it bothers me. Um, does he get chances on the 3-on-3? Yes. The shootout, we all know it's coming. Great.
You can't
It,
argue with the kids or the guy. He's not a kid anymore. You can't
yeah.
argue with Marner's skill level.
Right.
The way he dishes. You can't argue
Yep.
with that. In his stick on the penalty kill, the way he's always got his stick in the passing lane, he intercepts, he deflects off. He does a lot of good things. He's just not a playoff player. I don't give a shit what he did in the OHL. That doesn't mean anything to me. You know, the Hunters probably love the kid and say, oh, he did this, he did that. But that's great. This is the NHL. And he's had, 5, 6 playoffs now?
Yeah, he's been in a while.
Yeah.
And you can't give gold stars for the everything other than the skill that he does right, and health and everything else. But I just, um, you know, I think that's right along that same thinking that I had with Nice and Reeves on a line together, just to give him some room. But he's got to take advantage of it. And when I don't want to talk about the Whalers or anything like that, but it's any team. The second you put, here's a perfect example. Stevie Yzerman, the second they put Bob Probert on his line, boy, things opened up. And not only that, but whoever the right wing was, Dino, whoever, they were that much taller and tougher because there was another guy, Probert, breathing down the other team's neck. And they got a lot more room. I don't know why Marner seems to lose it. Like he cannot figure that out. He needs to be tougher. I don't know if he has it in him, but the Leafs don't have forever to figure that out either. So
I don't think it's in his DNA. I think he
right.
He is what he is, and he's a high level skilled passer. Doesn't like to play in traffic and in high intense playoff games. Matthews will find a way. His first year, he tiptoed through the tulips.
Right.
Now he finds his way through. He's a big, strong guy.
Yep.
He's still not the type of guy that I like at his size. But the guy can just score goals, right?
Right.
You're not getting that from Marner. That's why I wouldn't have paid him that, and I wouldn't have put your team in a position where you have no choice but to rely on him so heavily. Why do you think they went and got O'Reilly? Why they traded for Foligno a couple of years? Like, that's why. Because, they figured it out.
Right. The other teams figured it out. They knew exactly what to do to beat the Leafs.
I'm saying Toronto figured it out. They went and tried to supplement the deficiencies in their game from guys from Marner in playoffs by paying a premium to get O'Reilly and paying the premium to get Foligno, etc. That's why they did it, because they thought they could make up for it last minute. But I think you need it. You need it on your roster for the season.
Yep, I agree. I wholeheartedly agree. Okay, so what did you think? Switching gears a little bit, what did you think of Connor Bedard's first two games in the National League? What did you think of his performance last night in Boston, and then also knocking over Sid the Kid in Game One?
Well, Sid smoked him on the face-offs, and, and he got killed all night on face-offs the way Sid did in his early start of his career. Look, the kid can play. He's a little on the small side, but he's got unbelievable feet and hands. He's got a quick release the way he pulls the puck out and into his feet and rips it. He's going to be a player. There's no doubt. It may not be as fast as they all want,
Right.
but the kid's polished. Like, he knows how to talk. You know, he looks like he's got some serious media training. He's gonna be a player.
Yep.
It doesn't take a genius to see that he's gonna be a player. It just may not be as quick as like I had seen some pundits saying, "Oh, he's gonna be top 10 by the end of the year." Slow down. It's a men's league. There's a lot of good players in this league, and
Yep.
he's gonna be good. There's no question about it. I seen Taylor Hall got hurt though, eh?
Right. I did see Hall go down, and he's going to be out several weeks. That wasn't. Oh well, yeah. And my thing is, how many times can Taylor Hall get hurt? I mean, you know what I thought was ironic, and I don't know if you remember this, but they were in Edmonton was in Columbus, and they're taking warm-ups, and I believe it was Nurse. They collided, and Nurse went to jump over Taylor Hall, and his skate sliced his face wide open. How he didn't lose his eye, I have no idea. And so in warm-ups, they didn't wear the bucket. I thought it was ballsy as shit that Bedard and one other team, and I can't remember who it was, I think it was another rookie, they both got fined by the league $2,500 each game for not wearing their helmet in warm-ups. I'm surprised Taylor Hall didn't pull him aside and said, "Look, dude, they almost cut my skull half in head. I look like a jack-o'-lantern." Did you see that at all?
Yeah,
did you see where it was fine?
I'm actually surprised that it's even a finable thing. I don't know why I thought this, but I thought the league mandated it that you have to wear a bucket your first year.
Well, in warm-ups, you mean?
Yeah, in warm-ups. Because I know a couple of my guys wanted to go no bucket. I'd be like, fuck that.
Yeah.
You know, until you're like, I don't know, 8-10 year pro, keep your bucket on.
Yep. For that reason, when I played junior in Spencerville, I never went below the hash marks in warmups, because I know I had some real zingers on the team that they had the range of a Daisy Air rifle. They couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. And why go down there to fish a puck out when you're going to get a puck teeth full of puck? So I just thought it was comical that Taylor Hall didn't pull him aside and say, "Hey, look, I got a fucking zipper on my face from Nurse," and I just thought that was hilarious.
You never know. He might have.
He might have. You're right. He might have.
I also marches to the beat of his own drum, though.
Yeah, I mean, the world sweats and shits around Connor Bedard in Chicago, and that's fine. I just think that I just thought that was odd. The other big thing is, and I noticed this in the Leaf shootout, which Joe Bowen, he loves those shootouts, which is a joke. He hates them. So my thing is, with a league that's trying to market everything, and of course they shot themselves in the foot. We'll talk about that in a second. But for a league that is a absolute whore about marketing anything it can to get people to say, "Look at me," and not the NBA, I cannot believe this. Of course, that's in the that's down here in the States. I can't believe that the players are wearing helmets and shields in the shootout. Like, put on a toque or take the bucket off at least, or take away the half shield and
Never even
let
thought of
the
that.
like, what is the chance that a player is going to go in and, hammer one, hit the post, and come back and slam his teeth? You want to keep the mouth guard in? Great. You want to have just a helmet with no half shield? Great. I can't for the life of me figure out why they do that. And being the marketing whore that I am, I can't believe they don't have a shootout helmet. This shoot is brought to you by New York Upper Crust Pizza, the mother stores in Laguna. Yeah, you know what I mean?
I can't listen. I can't
Yeah,
stand the shootout.
I know.
Like if you watched 3-on-3 last night or any night,
Yep.
fuck, do another 5 minutes of that. That someone's gonna score, and it's so much fucking better. I can't stand this shootout. I've turned games off, and then I check the scores. I don't care. It was perfect. It was perfect that Marner scored. Because that's exactly what I'm talking about.
Right. The skill won you the game.
Yeah.
And it was even for 65 minutes. Let me ask you this. You touched on something, 5 minutes more of overtime. Would the players go for that? Do you think in the Players Association, when you were there, do you think that they would have gone for something like that? Or do you think they're like 65 minutes, that's it? Then we'll go to, or 60 minutes or 65 minutes rather, we'll go to shootout. Or do you think they would go another 5 with that?
I think the pure players would want another 5 because of how good a hockey and how wide open. It's just a shitty way to end a game. I still have nightmares over Crawford having Wayne on the bench and losing and in the what was it, Olympics for Canada.
Right. Right.
I hate the shootout. I don't, like somebody said the other day, I think Kiprio said it on his show, oh, they're going to call more penalty shots. I'm like, why? Oh, the NHL wants it to be more exciting. Well, fuck. Like, that's what, if you stopped powdering down the league and let them physically go at each other for 60 minutes,
Yep.
the games would be sure as hell enough exciting. So I don't know. I can't stand the shootout. I want any league where your playoffs games end differently than your regular season.
Yep.
It, to me, is stupid.
The only other thing I've ever thought about with ending the game, and this one really pisses me off, is there's 10 seconds left in overtime. And obviously the score is tied, but a team like one of the players runs over and gets a penalty. I think that the game should continue past like extra time in soccer. It needs to go past that. So a team gets screwed out of a minute 50 in overtime of a power play. It should go past it. You do something stupid like that, it should go past it. And the same thing for regulation. I always think that, now, okay, so we're going to go 5-on-4. Okay, now we're in overtime. We're going to go 4-on-3. It should be a continuation of regulation time. And at the following whistle, then it reverts to 3-on-3 or 4-on-3. I've always thought that. And my only other beef is, I don't know when you would do this or how it would work. I've always thought this. When a team goes on the power play, they can pick the 2 minutes 5-on-4 or 1 minute 5-on-3. I've always wished that the NHL would look into something like that. And is it a gimmick? Yeah, but at the same time, you want to get goals to go up. The better team is going to score the goals, and it's not as if Anaheim is going to hammer 3 goals on the 5-on-3, but that might help them. That might keep them in the games. Who knows? But I've always thought that. I've always thought that, keep it away from the shootout as much as possible. And,
What you
you know,
think? What you think of Rick Tocket's boys putting up 8 pucks in the opening night? I told you I like Tockett. He can coach, man.
yep, he's a good coach. I've always thought that. Vancouver. I have a buddy of mine down here in SoCal. He's from. My friend here is from Calgary, and he's a huge Vancouver Canucks fan. I cannot figure that out. Anyway, I loved it. That kid texted me. My buddy texted me all 8 times last night. Hey, did you see that one? How about that one? And I love the passion that I watched a little bit of the game. I love the passion that they had. They were on it. I like the presentation for the new captain getting the jersey from the old Canucks captains. I thought that was a big deal. I like that. I like that tradition. But they just stayed on the throat and hammered McDavid. I know the team was flat. I know that wouldn't. You know what? I bet you if they played tonight, Vancouver would lose by 3. But you know what? You got to be ready to play. And Edmonton just wasn't. I just think there's something. There is something, like, we know what the problem is with the Leafs. We know what the problem is with the Devils. We know what the problem is with certain other teams. But other than McDavid and Draisaitl, man, I can't think of a player on that team that I'd trade one up for. You know what I mean? I don't know what I wouldn't trade any of my, if I had 2 first-round picks, I wouldn't trade them for any other player on Edmonton. I wouldn't. There's nobody there that I'd want. I mean, Bouchard on D. I mean, Darnell Nurse. Let me ask you this: do you know how much Darnell Nurse makes off the top of your head?
Seven mil, right?
9.5.
Holy shit! Is he that high?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, he's that high. He's that high.
Rangers are in Buffalo. Free Cobb already.
Really?
Where I was plugging them.
Oh, Buffalo. Yeah. Well,
to show you, you got to play the games.
Yep. Yeah. Nurse is 9.25. Excuse me by, that GST tax that I'm going to get hammered with next week. But 9.25. And you said he was around 7.5, right?
He was 7.5.
Yeah. Yeah. 9.
He's got stones, that kid, but
I know. I don't take anything against. I don't take anything away from the player or the money. It's a lot like Marner. It's the situation, and I there were a couple others when I saw the list. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. Seth Jones at 9.5, McAvoy at 9.5. Now, ready for this? So, undoubtedly, the best defenseman all around National Hockey League is Cal McCarr. Craig Button cannot stop talking about Cal McCarr. And like, he's president of the fan club. Cal McCarr is 9 million even. Are you going to sit there and tell me that he's not as good as Nurse or Jones or Werenski? It's just, and I get you fit in like the contract like they did with Winnipeg with the last 2 signings. But my goodness, are you kidding me?
Hey, by the way, I was watching the opening ceremonies. Is Trouba of the Rangers?
Trouba is the captain of the Rangers, and they have 5 assistant captains, from what I understand. And you know what the best part is? I'm probably wrong about Trouba being captain, but the best part is, you got 6 players out of the 18 that wear the number at some point in the games. So I just can't figure that out. Like pick a captain, pick 2 alternates, and go with it.
That's how the old days were.
Yeah.
The old days weren't home and away and all this bullshit. It was
No.
one
Oh, he's,
captain, two ace. That's it.
I always remember that I was a better player when I was a captain at home, but not a captain. I can't believe I'm saying that. I was never captain of my teams, and I turned it down for the 2 years I was at Hudson Valley. It's a joke, but I cannot figure out. So you're a better leader on the road than at home. Are you taking the guys to the Magic Club and when they're Atlanta? Are you taking them to Fritz's? That's it when they're in Anaheim. Are you taking them to Peelers in St. Louis? No, you're the captain on the road, and it's just the whole thing just blows my mind with teams that have the five alternates. Of course, out here in Anaheim, we don't have a captain, and I don't. They won't have a captain this year. They probably won't.
They didn't name one, eh?
No, they didn't name a captain. Um, and and it's not by default, but I don't know if I'd want Adam Henrique to be the captain because he's probably going to get moved. But Cam Fowler has been a lifelong Duck, drafted by the organization, played through the ranks, represented Team USA in the Olympics and the World Championships because the Ducks are done by April 1st at the latest. But it just seemed like a deserving honor for the entire organization. And the problem, and now we're going to get into a rant. My issue is this: they leaned on Getzlaff like he was the second coming of Jesus. He wasn't. He was a selfish little bugger. I got to ask you this: how many times do you think Ryan Getzlaff scored 30 goals?
Did he ever?
I think he has. I think he has one, but I don't think he has two. I think he has a 29 goal season in there, and he was 10.5 million, which by today's rate would be 12 and a half million a year.
I will say I liked him as a player. I thought he played good in playoffs, and I thought he was good on Team Canada a few times. Him and Perry were a pretty dynamic duel together for a bit.
I think so. I thought so as well. But my issue is that oh, I'll hammer him. I don't care. He's my neighbor. I'll still hammer him. The last 6 or 7 years, he did not captain like things. So here in Orange County, you remember we have the Children's Hospital in Orange County, OC Chalk, Children's Hospital, Orange County, right? So Getzlaff, and I know this firsthand, Getzlaff would walk in and say, "Where's the small room where I can stand off to the side?" And one of the nurses looked at him and said, "Who are you?" And like, you got to be kidding me. She wasn't a hockey fan, but who are you? To Ryan Getzlaff. And the other nurse said, "This is true. I heard this right from the horse's mouth. You're not Mike Trout. Go see the kids." That's it. Like, you got to be kidding me. Benino was there all the time. Perry was there all the time. I'd love to hate Corey Perry, but the guy's balls. The guy is everything you'd want in a hockey player. And
Toronto should have signed him 2 years ago.
Yep, I think so too. All the players say, "Oh, I want to go home. I want to go home. I want to go home." Where the hell was he? He should have came home. And that's Dubas, typing in Corey Perry in the computer and, negative things coming up. But I just think Anaheim, without a captain, a young team, a rudderless ship, a team that your goaltender has already asked out on. He asked for a trade last year. He asked for a trade this summer. He pulls it back. He hands it back to them. Once and for all, they really need to just move on from him and unfortunately bottom out again because they didn't bottom out well enough last year, and they need to figure out some ping pong weights and certain things like that. But they have no captain, no direction, and maybe that's what they want. Maybe they want a team that doesn't have direction, that isn't successful, so they can bottom out again. But it is absolutely disgusting that they would choose to do that with Cam Fowler on their roster. The defense is all turned over. I don't want to go off on the Ducks. I mean, there's nothing there. You're going to trade right around the trade deadline. You've got Gudis on the team. He's on a 3 or 4 year deal. Killorn is there, another wasted contract. These are players that you build to come closer to put you over the top, not when you're a rebuilding team. And
Are the
there was,
Ducks playing tonight?
I don't know. And here's the thing. Working in Hollywood the last couple of days, let me tell you, the Kings are on all the billboards. They are everywhere.
Oh yeah,
Kopitar.
they spend money, man.
Yep. Kopitar is everywhere. I saw a billboard and it was LeBron, Kershaw, the guy on the Rams that's really good. And he's out, Cooper Cup or whatever the fuck his name is.
He's good.
Yeah. Yep. And Kopitar. And, the difference with Kopitar and Mike Trout is Kopitar's healthy and he's won a couple of things in his life. And Trout, he came in second place to Ohtani. But I don't want to talk about the Angels either, but the Ducks don't spend the money because they believe they're the only game in town, which they kind of are. And the Kings, boy, they want that LA dollar. And that crypto arena, formerly Staples, hops I'll tell you what, I know the Kings played last night, and I thought it was funny. The NHL usually brings in first year or first game players. They bring in the parents and stuff. And the kid got into a scrap. Lafreniere got into a scrap, and the parents and the siblings are all jumping up and down like he just scored Game 7, like he was Bill Barilko. I thought it was the greatest thing ever. And he grabbed I can't remember who he fought, but he grabbed him and threw him down to the ice. It was just beautiful. It's too bad it wasn't a shark. So. And it might have been, I can't remember, but you're right. They spend, and I'm really surprised. We're in day 3 of the NHL season, and some of the teams they haven't played yet. So
I find that odd.
Yeah, I think so too. I always thought that they've always started midweek, which I thought was kind of stupid, and I know they've got to play around with Major League Baseball schedules, and I know your Blue Jays they're not interfering this year, but baseball and football, I get football. I truly get football, but a hockey fan is not going to stop watching is not going to stop watching the NHL opening weekend for college football. They're not going to, baseball's over with. Most of the team, obviously, most of the teams are home. By this weekend, there'll be 4 teams left. Two are going to be in Texas, and you're looking at Philly, Atlanta, and Arizona. So 2, I'm not even going to count Arizona, but 2 of the franchise that are left playing today have NHL clubs in their cities, Dallas and Philly. You think Philly fans are not going to go to a Flyers game? It can be a movable game. It's just too bad. They really should have an NHL opening weekend and plan ahead and have it be somewhat of a soft opening.
I keep hearing about this ESPN show they're going to do with every team, like NFL Red Zone, but they're calling it some whatever. And I think that is an entertaining, all the hits, the fights, the goals. I think that would be an entertaining way to I'm good on that kind of stuff.
I think
everybody I heard talk to today, all the podcasts, all the shows in Toronto, everyone's crying about the cap because the Ottawa Senators can't afford to get their last couple of guys in, and they think it's going to cost them. Tampa Bay's a couple of bucks off the cap. it comes down to this. It's not high enough, Gary. It, you
Yeah.
know, and Ray Ferraro said today, when teams are starting their season with 21 players, we're back in the day. That's a lot of jobs. 2 or
Yeah.
3 players times 30. That's a lot of
Yep.
NHL jobs.
You know, back a couple of podcasts ago, I mentioned that, you know, I had some ideas for the cap, but my biggest thing now that the season's underway, you know, they're never going to revert to that. It'd have to be a sit down for sure. But, you know, have a cap floor. I've never been a fan of, and after when I first started working for you said, you know, this is how it has to be with salary and so forth. You got to get as much as you can. And I get that, but have a salary floor and have the teams make it, and then have a salary, what we call a ceiling, and you can exceed it. So if you're the Toronto Maple Leafs and you want to exceed it, go ahead. When you exceed it over a certain dollar amount, you have to pay a tax.
Yeah, pay a tax.
You got to pay a tax. They have it in the NFL. I don't think you're allowed to do this. You cannot restructure a contract in the National Hockey League. They do it in football all the time, basketball all the time. Baseball, they have deferred payments. So the Mets are still paying Bobby Bonilla, and they'll pay Bobby Bonilla $1 million every July 1st until 1936. And he hasn't played, it's 2023. He hasn't played in 12 years, you know, and he gets $1 million a year from the Mets, and they can't move it. DiPietro is the same way. I think his buyout is what crippled the Islanders, but there has to be something. And I'm really surprised that the Players Association hasn't really pushed for that, because it's money out of their pocket. And oh my God, I can't do that today. It's almost 6:00, but it's you know, you have Ray Ferraro's right. You've got players that are sitting out. They're not getting credit for those games. They're not getting closer to pension.
Bullshit.
It's horrible.
Bullshit.
Yep.
The changes have to be made to structure it properly. There's no question about it.
Yep. And I totally get it if the owners want to dip back into some of that, if they want to, you know, spread the wealth so teams can stay afloat. But like I also said, I wouldn't be for, this might have something to do with it. I would not be for, as a player, keeping Arizona afloat decade after decade of a club hemorrhaging money, hemorrhaging merchandise, hemorrhaging ticket sales. Just, when is enough enough? It's really that is the absolute worst situation in sports. In my opinion, that is just disgusting. A 5,000 seat arena, and no one can afford the tickets. No one can afford those tickets.
To me, it's the single biggest problem in the NHL.
Yep. The cap, and I believe it's tied to Arizona. I really do. Okay, so switching gears a little bit more, and what did you think of? What did you think of Tampa Bay coming out and announcing that the young goaltender will be their starter? Do you think he earned it, or do you think there's nothing else they can't add, and they're pushing Seabrook back to the cap, the long term? But I'm surprised they didn't add somebody. Are you surprised at that as well? Because several NHL.
I thought Martin Jones was.
Yep.
I thought 1,000% Tampa would have claimed him.
Yep.
So it's got to be all about money.
It's got to be. Even on a PTO, they couldn't afford a minimum. He would have played for the minimum. Anybody would have played for the minimum with Tampa. I just thought it was just like, you got to be kidding me. And we're gonna. I don't want to talk about the gap again, but I mean, it's brutal. It's absolutely brutal. Okay, so after the first few games, or few days rather, what did you see the first two games that you liked and that you didn't like? What was one of the things that you liked that we haven't covered?
Well, usually early in the year, the referees call a bunch of bullshit. It's called way too tight, and there's power play after. But I didn't really see that the way I have in previous years. Honestly,
Right.
that's a little different than the game itself. But I
Nope.
thought I thought I thought that was enlightening. Um, I liked the Bedard. I liked that some of the teams that nobody thought had a chance came out of the gate. But in the end, it all comes out in the wash. A month
Yeah.
from now, it'll all settle down. But I mean, this is probably, you know, one of the first seasons in a long time. Maybe because of the podcast that we're doing, maybe because of
Right.
the other things going on around the league, but it's really piqued my interest this year.
What did you? Okay, so what? That's good. What was one of the things that you didn't like, or that you said, "Oh my gosh, that's that. How can that be? Is this still a problem?" What was one of the things you when you saw the first two nights, other than Edmonton and Marner?
Maybe the overreaction on Badar and the media again, just the ridiculous overhype on stuff. Just
Yep.
everybody settle down, watch the games, enjoy them. Like I seen last night, Steve Simmons, that goof, asked Matthews a couple questions that were just ridiculous. And Matthews just gave it to him. And I loved it. And I
Yeah.
thought to myself, players need to have that latitude to say to somebody, what the fuck are you talking about, man?
Right.
You know?
I. Yep. I'll tell you one thing I did not like is Sportsnet. Like, who the fuck are those idiots? I mean, I like some of them. Don't get me wrong, but like I know Elliot is there, and there's not much.
Elliott's terrible too.
Yeah.
They need to have Kip Rios. They need to have what's the kid in Anaheim who retired?
Oh, Bieksa.
Yes, they gotta have guys like that. I don't care what Elliot Friedman and I don't mind Carolyn O'Connor, whatever her name is,
Yeah.
And what have you. But I hope Saturday nights they build a better panel. I'm not sure if Kipper's going to be on it, but they're missing out. They're missing out if he's not.
My I did like her. I thought she was excellent. Um, I don't know who the gentleman is, and he's never played. And I know he's a writer.
No. He's what he is he's a old Blue Jays training staff.
What?
Yeah, it's crazy. And he's a junior kind of guru. He does like scouting in the junior leagues. I don't know why they got him on the panel.
Nope.
Him and Friedman don't jive together. The whole thing.
Nope.
You gotta get NHL guys on there. You gotta.
Right. And I can't even remember who the other gentleman was. I remember those two. I can't even remember who the third one is because I didn't want to watch it. It was just mind boggling.
Yeah, I turned it off too.
I can't handle it. And I understand it's two different networks and, Poolin and Noodles and the rest of them. But my come on. It's like you brought the B team. I don't mind Elliot that much. I mean, as an American watching that, illegally or whatever we are down here, I don't mind Elliot as much because he's a writer. And does that mean he's great on TV? No, but it's a familiar face with his scrib. But the other two, like, I just I can't get over that. I just think that they Maybe Bielska didn't want to move. Maybe he didn't want to relocate. I
Well,
mean,
I don't know. We'll see Saturday night because
yeah.
I haven't read who's on the panel
Oh,
Hockey Night in Canada yet, but there is enough talent in this city, Sportsnet, TSN, to make a
yep.
strong panel.
Yeah.
And it's frankly embarrassing what Sportsnet ran out last night.
Absolutely embarrassing. I could not handle that. I've never been one to sync up a hockey game with the radio, and I couldn't do it. It's much more difficult than baseball, but it was. I mean, I used to say glued to the TV. I couldn't wait to get away. I mean, I did the laundry for crying out loud, and it's
You
just
should have turned
it's.
on Joe Bowen and Jim Ralph.
Well, you know what? Now that you mention that, I mean, I know he's on another network, but like Jeff O'Neill, like give me somebody
Yeah.
with some balls. Of course he's a former Whaler, but somebody. I just it was embarrassing, and
The TSN panel is usually O'Neill is the NHL guy, Dave Poulin.
right, yep,
They have a good panel.
yeah, I love that panel.
Yeah.
And every so often you get Noodles. That's Jamie McClellan.
They have a
Yeah,
show. O'Neill
yeah,
and McLennan have a show, Overdrive, on
yep.
TSN's The Drive Home Show.
Oh wow.
It's a good show. Kiprios, his
Yep.
show, and that Overdrive show are the two top if you're a hockey guy. The rest of them are just kind of
Donkeys.
yeah, but those shows are a good listen.
All right. Is there any other topic you want to cover tonight, Dave?
No, but where are you going?
So tomorrow night I am flying a red eye. I'm leaving John Wayne and I'm headed to Bradley Field.
I love John Wayne. John Wayne's awesome.
And you liked Bradley Field too, if you remember a couple of podcasts ago. In Hartford.
I used to get in and out of John Wayne so fast.
Yeah. It's true. I'm flying to Hartford and I'm grabbing some synthetic and I'm headed up to dropping it off, and then Sunday morning I'll be in Toronto, and I can't wait for that. I'll be just outside of Toronto, and I'll be there for a couple of days, and then I'll be back in Toronto. I know you know the itinerary, but I'll tell everybody again. The 2nd of November, I'm in Boston with the Leafs. The 4th of November, I'm in Toronto against Buffalo, and then November 20th, I'm in Stockholm with the Wild and the Leafs. So 3 countries, 3 weeks, and 3 different countries, like I said, but and 2 continents. So I can't wait. That's where I'm headed. So
You're in Toronto this weekend?
yeah. So long story short, my wife's cremains are in Niagara Falls. They're over the falls. She's the only person I know that was born in Markham and became a Rangers fan. So we bought a Rangers replica Stanley Cup, and I glued a hockey puck to the bottom with the cremains inside the cup, and I threw it over the falls at midnight. And so she's there, and so a bunch of us are going up, and I'll be there for a couple of days. But I'm going back to Toronto on the 4th, and that's when I'll be hitting the restaurant and going to the Leafs game, and then I'll be with a minor celebrity, a voiceover actress in Toronto, and we'll be doing a couple of commercial spots there and enjoying the game. Then I'm driving to Buffalo and flying home to John Wayne. So
Nice.
there you go. Yep.
All right. So we'll touch base next week.
You betcha. All right, Dave, have a good weekend. Don't watch too much hockey, and then again, don't watch too little. Okay, this is Chef in Chef's Kitchen. Stay hungry.